On the 22nd of July 2019, something remarkable happened. Not just nationally, but also on a personal level for me. As India's most ambitious space program was taking off, and I was witnessing this historic moment with my family at home, a familiar face appeared on the television screen. It was a professor from my department at college trying to explain the dynamics of Chandrayaan 2 along with its objectives. But not just this, he was doing it in his mother tongue, my mother tongue. The face looked familiar, and so did the voice, as I had heard him so many times on the campus. But there was something different this time. His speech seemed closer to heart than ever, but I knew this wasn't it. And as he was trying to explain the science behind India's magnificent endeavor, a split screen on the TV showed students who were listening with supreme attention. They loved what the expert had to say. And yet, the restlessness remained. I knew it wasn't the uneasiness of having to listen to a person in a different language than you had heard him before that was bothering me, because I could sense a distinct tinge in the living room itself and not on the television. I looked around and I saw my grandmother listening with the same zeal, with an equal enthusiasm and excitement as the students. This was it. My heart shouted, this is it. This was the difference. I instantly compared myself with the professor. Not academically, of course, because I don't stand even in the vicinity of his shadow, but with his ability to express his work, something he's passionate about, with my grandmother, someone who does not even know him. I don't remember a time when I did this. I don't remember an instance when I told her what I do, what excites me every day. And it was not because I just didn't care, but because I couldn't. And that day I realized there was one more thing that the professor could do that I couldn't. Again, not even in the closest of margins. But this sounds awfully pathetic and full of self-guilt. Then why did I say this day was remarkable? The reason I said this, because this incident connected so many dots that I already had in my mind, and it answered even more important questions. But before we dive into it, let's look at a few numbers to get a little perspective of what's really happening. India hosts around 500 million native Hindi speakers, followed by around 100 million Bengali speakers and just about the same Marathi and Telugu native speakers. Other Indian languages, like Tamil and Gujarati, have around 3/4 of 100 million speakers. All the numbers that I'm quoting right now are constructed assuming a 12% growth since census 2011, which is a fair assumption according to me. Considering the multilingualism of Indians, over about 12% of them speak and understand English, which boils down to around 150 million to 160 million of them. To put it very simply, in this auditorium of around 100 people, around 85% of you do not understand what I'm trying to say. But had this talk had Marathi subtitles, for example, the number of prospective viewers would have increased by 90 million approximately. The population of Germany is 83 million. That is, by doing a very straightforward task of translating this talk into a language I've been speaking since my childhood, I can effectively cater to an entire nation. Then, having known these statistics and all the numbers, why did I still choose to deliver this talk in English, having no fidelity whatsoever towards what I speak? That's a good question. I would like to answer that with a small story. Once a friend of mine had to go to Europe regarding some academic work, and he shared a room with a Turkish student. After a very long day, the Turkish gentleman decided to call back home and have a talk with his parents. Having seen this, even my friend got homesick, and he decided to ring up his parents. And after he hung up the phone, the Turkish student just said one thing. He said, "I could understand everything that you said." My friend was very, very, very impressed by the multilingualism of his temporary roommate, but it was only deflated in the very next instant. The Turkish student explained that every sentence that you said had almost 3 to 4 English words in it, which gave me a pretty good context of what was happening. So it's not really the talent of the foreigner, but the inability of our native speaker. And I am no different. I cannot speak one straight sentence in my own language, and hence, choosing any other language other than English would have been a huge travesty. Then what is the idea behind learning any language anyway? when Shashi Tharoor was asked that why does he use such words in his speech that only a handful of them understand. And he gave a very beautiful answer, which was simple but not very obvious. He said he only uses those words in his speech that aptly express his emotions. Because although we might think that words have similar meanings, they do have different connotations associated with them. This was a eureka moment for me to redeem myself of all the tiresome hours spent in school learning over 4 languages. I realized that language is a medium that enables oneself to express his or her emotions to the fullest. I figured out that the complete understanding of the use of a particular language can equip you with certain tools so as to express your feelings, not just authentically, but also artistically. Why do people love Gabriel Garcia Marquez or Oscar Wilde describe as mundane a thing as a flower vase? Because it gives you an opportunity to explore your own emotions. The tools of language complete the tripartite structure of learning, namely inquisition, self-knowledge, and expression. For without expression, knowledge has no meaning. Then what is the way forward? How do we solve these seemingly incoherent problems? Various UNESCO reports have made it abundantly clear that initial learning based on one's first language plays an important role in a person's life. If truth be told, it is no rocket science, unlike Chandrayaan 2, to realize that students learn, comprehend, and retain more effectively in their first language. Not Hindi, not English, but the first language that they speak. Now, most of the families in metropolitan cities like Mumbai or Delhi have started to speak with their kids in English, but the rest majority still use their mother tongue. And what is taught in one's mother tongue can be effectively communicated, can be effectively expressed. I remember this one particular episode from my mid-school years vividly. We were given a task to write an essay in English. And after having finished mine, I was particularly delighted, for I knew that everything that I had written were all my authentic thoughts, something that I believed from within my heart. But when the grades were allotted, I was given a mere 6 on 10. That made me really sad. But later, the teacher clarified that although everything that I had written could be understood by her, and some of the points that I made were up to the mark, but the structuring of the sentence was not correct. And that was the reason I was penalized heavily. She observed that it seemed as if majority of the sentences were first thought in Marathi and then later molded, careful, not translated, but molded into English. She was bang on correct. And 7 years on, I realized that's not how English, or for that matter, any language works. Initiating mother tongue based learning will go a long way in regenerating the literature in subjects like science. Because we see experts across genres who cannot explain their own work in their own language. Now, there is a naive misrepresentation of this solution. I'm sorry, but yes, it's a very naive misrepresentation. It is seen as an attempt to eradicate the use of English. That's not what we are saying, because that would be the stupidest thing to do. Mother tongue based learning promotes the idea that initial learning should be based on the first language of a child, and further language studies should be built on those foundations. Because just as it is proven that the first language plays an important role, it is an equally known fact that multilingualism plays an important role in the cognitive development of a student. So far, so good. But one question still remains, which I'm asked numerous times when I try to defend this idea. Okay, Nikhil, we do accept to adopt a mother tongue based learning approach, but will my kid find relevant material to read when he grows up? Even if my kid is fluent, say in both Gujarati and English, isn't the availability of English over Gujarati going to eventually phase out his use of Gujarati language and going to make his foundations redundant? Now that's a valid concern, but asking such a question is nothing but an entrapment into a vicious circle according to me. If kids of today don't learn, the experts of tomorrow don't write, and hence again, the kids of tomorrow don't get anything to learn. The cycle of lack of literature hence perpetuates. We have to start somewhere. To give you a very simple example, I request you all to take out the notepads that you're given and draw a small circle on it. It's a small exercise. I guess all of us can do it, right? Okay? Are we good? Now, theoretically, theoretically, a circle neither has a starting point nor an ending point. But that does not disincentivize us from drawing the circles. In fact, we draw circles more than anything else in our lives. And I guess teachers can relate with that, right? We draw circles more than anything else in our lives. We have to start somewhere. Then what is that good start? I am no expert in child psychology or pedagogy for that matter, and my conviction in defending the idea of mother tongue based learning will not inspire any action. But one thing that I can try for sure today is to inspire you all to take on a task to express your work, to express your feelings in a language you're comfortable with. Not English, but some other language you're comfortable with. I call it the 500-meter rule. For the next 1 month, let's all do this because we've been taking fruitless New Year resolutions all our lives, right? Let's take a year-end resolution. For the next 1 month, let's make sure that whatever we write, whatever we express, everyone within a 500-meter radius understands what we are trying to say. And you realize that it's not always about simplifying things. Sometimes it's just about diversifying them. This, according to me, is a good start. I'm not worried about the kids of the future. Kids will do fine. This is not for kids. It's for the driver uncle who drives you to work every day and then back home. It's for the maid who makes you delicious food every day. It's for the gardener who takes care of your plants every day. It's for the everyday man who makes your life what it is. It's not about the kids of the future, but about the people of the present. And this idea is not new in any way. It's not my invention, but just a lesson in history. Allow me to take you back to the period of Renaissance, somewhere around the 15th century in Europe, where Latin was the language of the learned and the church. And other European languages like Spanish, German, French, and even our very own English were considered vernacular, the language of the commons. But the thinkers of the time, like Shakespeare in English or Cervantes in Spanish, for that matter, Boccaccio in Italian, decided to write in the language of their lands and took on a task upon themselves to make their language worthy of the widespread use. It was this period that saw books like The Prince getting published in English, book like The Divine Comedy getting published in Italian, or for that matter, Don Quixote, the most famous novel of all time, getting published in Spanish. The period of Renaissance is special for me, not because of its arts, but because of the fact that it diversified knowledge into common languages in order to integrate the marginalized sections of the society. India today needs a renaissance. Thank you so much.